My name's Tommy, and I was 9 when this happened, living in a creaky farmhouse on the outskirts of Hollow County. Our home sat at the end of a dirt road, miles from any streetlight, where the night was so thick it felt alive. I'd learned to navigate the dark, my eyes catching shapes in the gloom, trees, fences, the occasional deer. But one evening, something changed. My dad was late returning from the woods where he'd gone to gather firewood. The sky was bruising purple, the air sharp with autumn's bite. Worried, I grabbed a flashlight and climbed the hill behind our house, the path to the forest slick with fallen leaves. The silence was raw, too heavy, like the world held its breath. Halfway up, I heard them, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, rising from the woods below. Each step crunched with purpose, too slow to be Dad's. "Dad?" I called, my voice swallowed by the dusk. No answer. A figure crested the hill, tall and impossibly dark. Like a silhouette burned into the world. Its edges seemed to shimmer, fraying into the air. I called again, my heart thudding. Nothing. It moved closer, its steps mechanical, unyielding. Up close, I saw no face, no eyes, no mouth, just a void that seemed to pull at me. The air grew colder, the smell of damp earth turning sour, like decay. It passed inches from me, ignoring my trembling form, and veered toward a clearing. In the fading light, its shape twisted, limbs lengthening, crouching low, like a beast stalking prey. I swear I saw it flicker, as if it wasn't fully here. The rustle of underbrush snapped me awake, fear clawing my chest. I ran home, the hill stretching endlessly behind me. Dad was there, safe, having taken a back trail. I spilled the story to Mom, begging her to remember every detail. Years later, I still feel that faceless gaze in my nightmares, hear those steps in the quiet. Was it the silent shadow? Was I its prey? I'll never know. I'm Michael, a doctor fresh out of med school, taking a temp job in a rural clinic in Hollow County. The building was a relic, carved from a 1960s municipal office. Its long hallway lined with locked doors and windows that seemed to trap more shadows than light. It was late October, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. The town felt abandoned, its square empty, under a sky choked with swollen clouds. I'd been there a week, uneasy but chalking it up to the place's age. The patients, mostly elderly, were kind, their voices echoing in the cavernous exam room with its towering ceilings. But the clinic was wrong, too vast, too silent, the air thick with a damp chill no heater could touch. A tiny radiant stove barely warmed my hands, let alone the room. That Wednesday, I arrived for the afternoon shift, the only day the clinic opened late. The square was lifeless, the wind carrying a faint, sour tang. Unlocking the outer door, I stepped into the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing like dying insects. As I fumbled with the inner door's lock, a sound froze me, a long, mournful sigh, trailing into a low wail, as if the building itself grieved. I spun around, expecting a patient, but the hallway was empty, the chairs neatly aligned, untouched. My pulse raced, but I blamed the weather, the isolation. Inside, I powered on the computer, the hum barely masking the silence. While on a call, pacing the room, a violent crash shattered my thoughts. A plastic light cover lay on the floor, fallen from the ceiling. No cracks, no loose fittings, just there, as if dropped by unseen hands. The air felt heavier, the shadows in the corner sharper. I propped the cover against the wall, my hands trembling,
and tried to focus. By 7 p.m., rain lashed the windows, the darkness outside pressing against the glass. As I locked the exam room, I saw it, a shadow at the hallway's far end, seated on the last chair. It wasn't human, too still, its form too perfect, like a cutout from the void. My breath caught as it turned, its faceless head fixing on me. The air turned icy, the buzz of the light slowing to a drone. Then it was gone, leaving only silence. I fled, convincing myself it was exhaustion, a trick of the mind. I never returned to that clinic. The old doctor dismissed the fallen cover as wear and tear, but I felt the silent shadow's gaze linger, its presence woven into the building's bones. Sometimes I hear that sigh in my dreams, feel the weight of that empty stare. My name's Emily, and I worked as a receptionist in a university dorm in Hollow County, a 10th century palace turned student housing. The building was a labyrinth of stone arches and creaking wooden floors, its walls etched with centuries of secrets. Shadows pooled in every corner, and the air carried a faint metallic tang, like old blood. I started in autumn, when the days grew short and the nights felt endless. My first week was quiet, but things changed after a group of Erasmus students left. One Sunday, I took the 6 a.m. shift, alone in the building. The new students were on a university trip, not due back until evening. The silence was oppressive, pressing against my ears like water. I brewed coffee, settled at the desk, and played a comedy to shake the unease. But half an hour in, a chair scraped upstairs, sharp and deliberate, followed by a heavy thud from room 113. I froze, the laughter on my laptop sounding hollow. Another scrape louder, like furniture dragged across wood. Room 113 was empty. I checked the key rack, every key accounted for, including 113's. The noises grew, footsteps pacing, a low rumble like a growl. I texted my night shift colleague, who swore the room was vacant, the students long gone. Fear prickled my skin, but I stayed put. The sounds relentless until noon, when they stopped abruptly, leaving a silence that felt alive. When my relief arrived, she checked 113 and called me later, her voice shaking. The room was chaos, beds shoved against walls, chairs stacked upside down, desks clustered in the center, as if arranged in a ritual. The students assigned to 113 had been away all day. Days later, one of them, pale and trembling, begged to switch rooms, whispering of shadows that moved in the dark, objects hurled across the floor. We blamed leaky pipes, but the pattern repeated. Every student in 113 saw things, a small woman in a long dress gliding through the halls, her face obscured, whispers in empty rooms, cold spots that burned to the touch. One evening, a friend visited, and we ate pizza in the lobby. The fire door slammed, footsteps echoing closer. A young man appeared, smiled, and vanished behind a pillar. My friend gasped. He wasn't a resident. I checked the hall, empty, the air icy, the lights dimming. Rumors spread of a seance gone wrong in 113, held by a student who'd burned paper notes inviting something dark. That student returned months later, choosing 113 again, only to flee days later, tormented by shadows that followed her. Changing rooms didn't help. The entity clung to her, a weight she couldn't shake. The building's energy shifted. My colleagues saw things. A woman's silhouette in the stairwell. Objects moving in locked rooms. Students slept in the study hall, too scared to stay in 113. One afternoon, an old man visited with his grandson, reminiscing about the building's past as apartments. As he left, He paused, his eyes distant, and asked, "Do strange things still happen here?" The dorm closed soon after, repurposed, and we were reassigned. I miss that place, its pulse, its secrets. The silent shadow lingered in 113, but other spirits, gentler ones, played tricks elsewhere, moving keys, flickering lights. I still hear those scrapes in quiet moments, feel the weight of unseen eyes. Hollow County never lets you go.